Oh, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to continue my argument about Abby and her build. I know it's so ridiculous for me to even go about this, but really, hear me out, okay? So, Sunday with the Soul Slingers, it ended up moving into the topic of The Last of Us Part 2. I'm like particularly between me and one of the Soul Slingers teammates, and it was funny as hell because I ended up saying, I'm like, technically there's a fetish for muscular women. And really, I don't think they really looked into it, but I'm like, a lot of the drawings and stuff for muscular women is still pretty on the mark of conventional beauty standards, meaning bigger bust and a little bit more of a rump. So, like, still maintaining the Coke bottle shape figure. But here, Abby, I don't see anything wrong with her build. People say she's massive, and I'm like, of course, if you've seen petite women all your life that don't are not athletes and don't focus on building muscle like, like a CrossFit bodybuilder or something like that, you're gonna you're gonna look at Abby and think, damn, she massive. But really, when you look at her childhood, 4 years earlier before she becomes who she is that we see in the game with, killing Joel, she is already athletic kind of build already. She's not as muscular, which she had 4 years to get that big, and she's not even that big. And I'll explain why, but she has that body type that could get that big. And I know it's hard for people to understand this. And I know women like to fuel into the male narrative that, women don't look like this. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And they look bigger. Everyone has a different body type and build. But of course, conventional beauty standards, they make the Coke bottle shaped woman the ideal beauty, but ideal beauty varies on the culture and anywhere in the world, really. I'm like, some cultures, they just love that thicker woman, but someone argued that there is no facilities to get that big or the resources and enough of protein if you played the game. Yes, there is. There's a whole gym dedicated to getting strong and build. There's literally kettlebells, there's barbells, there's free weights, all that stuff available. There's like even exercise routine, times when the gym is open and all that stuff because where the Firefly facility that, Abby is in with all of her friends is a stadium, and that stadium has a lot of internal resources including cattle. Like literally outside is a whole cooking, grilling section of all those meats, fruits, and vegetables that they grow on the property. Literally, you can see the livestock in these images here, this video. That's what you see in the gameplay. There's a lot of food and resources available to get that big, but people want to argue it's post-apocalyptic. It's been several years. They had plenty of time to establish all of this. This is why the town that Joel, Ellie, and Tommy are in, everyone has their role of keeping up with the livestock, and of course Ellie, Joel, and Tommy are the ones that go out and deal with any stragglers or clickers or whatnot. But what people don't like about Abby is for this very same reason, she ends up getting her revenge on Joel. And Joel did kill her father. Yes, Joel lost his daughter during the beginning of the apocalypse with the fungal infection, but he did a lot of horrible things along the way before he met Ellie. And even with Ellie, which he made his surrogate daughter, he massacred an entire facility, which it was the same facility, the very doctor he killed happened to be Abby's father. In this moment, Abby is enacting her revenge. She took 4 years of her life in the Firefly facility, getting herself that strong, that big to be able to enact her revenge, to get strong enough to handle all of this. I'm like, there's even scenes of her, she's afraid of heights. And we're thinking she's like this most profound, strong character that can handle anything. No, she's afraid of heights. There's just some limitations to her. Just because she looks big doesn't mean she's fearless, and she's not that big. People argue with me on this. When I said she is a fatty, muscular build, I didn't mean it in a bad way, okay? She is big, yes, but she has a lot of body fat percentage on her. I notice it because really, when you want more muscle definition to show, to really show those curvatures, that contrast, you have to dehydrate, you have to cut, meaning you're gonna put yourself at a lower calorie deficit so you can lose that body fat percentage. But like I said before, you're gonna dehydrate too, so you can lose a lot of water in your body so those muscles can pop out a lot. She definitely has a higher body fat percentage, but because she's not conventionally pretty and it's a post-apocalyptic world where she has a lot of like freckles and sun dots from sun damage, because in this world I'm like, I'm sure they're not using sunblock, and definitely there's no use in putting on cover up or primers to even out the texture of your skin, because women do that. They use a lot of makeup to even out the texture of their skin and the color of their skin and everything, so everything kind of like looks uniform. I'm like, really, people do miracles with makeup. But really, if you add makeup to this girl, she will look very pretty. She's pretty to me. I like Abby. I think she's attractive. But what people don't like about her is because she looks big and she doesn't have a bust. She's definitely an A cup. She doesn't have like the wider hips or anything. She looks pretty average. She looks like the average body build that's athletic. And people just rip her a new one, and I hate that because I've seen different types of women. I've seen different builds. They even make fun of Ellie, and Ellie is a petite build, but a petite build that is very fit and lean. Like Ellie is very lean, very strong, and very capable of doing the things she does in the game. I'm like, the fact that they got Bella Ramsey to play her character, I mean, it's a different look. Obviously, she brought out a lot more to the character, a lot more emotions, and her performance is really good. But I don't see any reason to hate Abby. I'm like, she only gets revenge once, and she actually spared the life of Ellie and Tommy. I'm like, she didn't gain any satisfaction with the revenge she enacted. If you go back to that scene, you can see how she looks. She has no satisfaction whatsoever because it didn't bring her father back. I'm like, it didn't ease any of her emotions, which is why she told her crew like to stop and let them go, really. And that was her biggest pitfall right there, is the fact she had enough compassion and empathy to spare their lives. Two of the most dangerous characters in this game, and she ended up having to bite the bullet for that. I trust me, like, me as a third person looking into this world, that was her biggest mistake in the game. But the reason why I see Abby so compassionate, because with people outside of the Firefly facility, she did try to save their lives, and she did take the two siblings under her wing, which is Lev, which is a transgendered boy, and his sister, and protected them, chose to protect them, and went against the Firefly, you know, the very, group that she grew up with, like she trained with, she became best friends with. And even with all of that, they try to kill her. I'm like, it's crazy. She ends up the worst off in this game. Ellie is given so many characters to care about her, including Dina and everything, who loves her. And regardless of everything, Ellie chose the route of blood, even though she knew Joel massacred the entire Firefly facility and murdered this Abby's father. Really, he shot Abby's father. He shot Abby's father, and she was only getting her revenge because Joel was her villain. It was her focus, her pinpoint of rage and suffering, that she gets to be in this world without her father. And at the end of the day, she lost all of her friends, including her ex-boyfriend and his girlfriend that was pregnant too, because Ellie killed a pregnant woman. I'm like, she killed a dog and she killed a pregnant woman. Ellie's crazy, and people were giving Abby hell in this game because of the way she looks, but she's not even that big. I'm like, there's women bigger than her, but I know Abby in real life is very strong and capable and can do things. There's police women that are built like this, except, depending on that, they're gonna have more of a bust. I'm like, they just made it a choice to not give her much of a chest over here, but I'm like, how can you not like the character? I mean, you're not liking her because of how she killed Joel, and you think Joel deserved a heroic death. Joel did not deserve shit. I'm like, I know people are gonna argue with me on that. Joel didn't deserve shit. It's not it to give him heroic death with the things he's done throughout the first game, and the fact that he did massacre that entire facility doesn't justify anything of giving him a heroic death. Abby here, she lost everyone in the most brutal way possible because Ellie really did like went all full Ripper style on them. And look at that, even in these scenes, she's not that big. She doesn't have that much muscle. She has a mix of muscle and fat. I'm like, towards the end, you kind of do see her a little bit more leaner when she's deprived and everything, because there's like being dehydrated, no food. But here she's like a healthy version. She looks good. I'm like, a lot of female bodybuilders will look at her as like, yeah, she's pretty fit. She's built. She's not like super bulky and massive. I'm like, some guys, I'm like, she's swole. I'm like, okay, 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 okay. It's like I have to hold it in a lot half the time when I hear that. I'm sure if they added a little bit more bust to her and a more rump, no, none of them would be complaining. They'd be like, oh, drooling at the mouth. And now I'm really making fun of it. But yeah, muscular women is a fetish. It's just Abby's not gonna be on that fetish list because of the world she lives in. She's got freckles, she's got some sun damage, there's no makeup, she doesn't have a bust, she doesn't have a rump. I'm like, she does have the conventional thick thighs of a woman who body builds and doesn't skip leg day, and she's got somewhat of arms, and her chest is kind of big in a way, but not too much. It's like a lot. It's just how her body ends up looking with that amount of muscle mass. I'm like, there are women that do have that. That's when you focus a lot more on the neck, the back, and the chest there. And I said she's kind of like fatty because she has a lot more fat and ratio. She has a lot more ratio around her waist, which makes her look a little bit bigger, but that's not so bad. I think she's perfectly proportioned for what type of character she is, regardless of what anyone would say. Ellie is very petite and lean, with probably a lot of tendon strength. People forget strength also is about tendon strength. Why do you think rock climbers they have such strong grips and they can get around like monkeys? Okay. I'm like, that's because they train their tendons to be very strong. You don't want to go up against someone who has really strong tendon strength because really they can just grip on you and crush you a little bit. But Abby and the fight with Ellie, I thought it was a pretty fair fight. I'm like, it's brawn versus lean and strategic that is able to do whatever is necessary to be able to come out victorious in this. Of course, it doesn't end well. And actually, Dina, being the good person she is, she really tried to intervene in this situation. She nearly lost her life, even though she knows she was pregnant. But I'm like, geez, this fight scene, I don't know what to tell people. I'm like, I don't want either of these characters to die. I would not want any of them to die. I mean, Allie or Abby. I'm like, Ellie would never learn her freaking lesson if she ended up getting killed. I'm like, Abby is the better person in this situation. She actually takes the high road in this situation. And it's just, Ellie never learns her lesson. She never learns and she never appreciates what she has already. She's just so bloodthirsty focused. Tommy is the same issue, bloodthirsty and focused. Even though he has a wife and he has a kid that he can focus on, he just doesn't do it either. I'm like, it's that special ops mentality that they gave him. And I'm like, can you stop, please? And I know I should have put a warning in the beginning of this video that I would go off on a tangent. But Abby, she could have killed Dina. She was going to, but she stopped. She had every right to take away more people from Ellie's life, but she didn't. Lev stopped her. Lev grounded her. And then she decided, I don't want to continue this anymore. Which is why she didn't kill Dina, which is why she walked over to Ellie and told her, I'm like, I don't ever want to see you ever again. She gave Ellie a second chance, another chance, because really, when she spared Ellie and Tommy, she thought Ellie would move on and not waste her life. I'm like, Ellie wasted her life, and she does it time and time again. She does it over and over to the point where I'm like, can you just freaking live your life in peace? But no, she goes and looks for Abby yet again. And this time, Abby is in the most depraved moment of her life. She was captured along with Lev. Who knows what was done with her? She's severely dehydrated. She has been malnourished. I'm surprised that she's even still alive in this game because I don't know how long she was tied to that post for. And here, Ellie, regardless of the situation, looks at her and doesn't know what to do in this situation. I'm like, she wants to fight Abby, but Abby is not even in peak condition to even fight Ellie. And I'm like, this is how a deconditioned athlete looks like, except worse because she's malnourished, she's dehydrated, probably sleep deprived, and yet she still has enough energy to carry the body of Lev, the very focus and purpose of her life right now, because Abby doesn't have anyone left. She just has Lev to focus on and to protect, and she does it well, even in her current state. And Ellie, regardless of anything, can't get past the blood. I'm like, still, she could have just left. She could have let Lev and Abby move on her way, but no. She's like, I want to fight you. We need to fight to the death. And Abby is obviously not fit to do it. Yet Ellie doesn't care. Allie, despite being injured, she is in a lot healthier and fit position to win this fight regardless. Abby still holds herself strong in this situation and she doesn't want to fight. Really, she just wanted to get Lev out of there. And this is the scene where I was just like, what are you doing, Ellie? I'm like, get it through your thick skull. And she goes and threatens the kid. I'm like, what? This is why I said, I'm like, Ellie is just something to be feared. I am afraid of Ellie. I'm more afraid of Ellie than I am of Abby. I would trust Abby more than Ellie at this point because she goes and threatens a kid because she so badly wants to get revenge. And this is an accurate body type for her for being the petite frame she is. This is the largest Ellie will ever get. It would have been wrong to make Abby look like Ellie. I'm telling you. Abby's body build is a lot a women can relate to, especially in her deconditioned form here. I'm like, she's pretty tall. I'm like, I think they're around the same age. Maybe Abby's a little bit older. Who knows? And she's really struggling in this fight. There is nothing left in her, but she's doing this for Lev because she wants Lev to be okay, even though she doesn't have an ounce of energy left to deal with this situation. And this is an unfair fight right now. Ellie knows she's going to win this fight. This is just theatrics at this point because Abby, I don't even know how she's still standing. I really don't. But either way, I think I've kind of conveyed enough about what I feel about Abby. I like Abby. Abby's a good character. There's nothing wrong with her build. People are just nitpicky as hell. They've been nitpicky ever since they started being a lot more authentic with women's looks in games and not have the Coke bottle, extra bust, extra rumpy kind of girl to play with because I'm like, that is not all women. That is not all women. Not all women are conventionally pretty. Not all women are conventionally built with the Coke bottle or petite frame. A lot of them are built a lot bigger. Definitely, there's a lot of women that can get a lot bulkier than Abby, for sure. I'm like, they make a career out of it, and a lot of people say, oh, they're not natural. I mean, depending on what sport field, I'm like, have you seen women that are in kickboxing? I'm like, they're all different shapes and sizes, but there are some women that are pretty busty and big, pretty thick too. I'm like, in this moment, Abby's not thick. Abby lost most of her body fat mass along with her muscle because that's what happens with deconditioning. I'm like, and especially in this situation, she is basically deprived. Like, to survive with being malnourished, I'm like, your body's gonna eat your own muscles. That's just how the body works in this situation. But because Abby's not pretty, she's not pretty enough, she's not conventional. And she killed Joel. No one wanted Joel to die in that way. She gets the grunt of all of it. And then they call Neil Drunkman, Druckmann, whatever he is. I'm like, maybe he does have a muscular woman fetish, who knows? But he wanted to build a woman that is believable in this sense of that could do so much. And I like all the characters in this game. They are all delicious. They have all add in their own turmoil and emotional expression. Abby did the same. Abby is a good character. Just live with it. You're never going to convince me otherwise of this. Ellie is an antagonist. She's a monster in this game. I hopefully she can redeem herself, but it doesn't look like they're going to create The Last of Us Part 3 game, that got canceled, but at least we're gonna get the series sometime soon, I think around this April or in the summer. But either way, people, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy all my other videos.